to a quick guide, a quick recovery guide for businesses. And then we will start, we're starting on the second iteration of that. But we appreciate all of you. We appreciate what you're doing in the community, and hope that everybody is really very safe. I don't know if anybody really has had much of a chance to meet our new Director of Government Relations. John Putney started in January. But throughout this process, John Putney has been watching and reporting back to the Alliance and staff and leadership on the governor's press conferences, as well as what's going on at the federal level, always looking towards what you need to know and what information is important for businesses that's coming down to us from either the state or federal level. So if you have any questions about what the government, what's going on at the government levels, don't hesitate to reach out to John Putney. It's a lot of work is going on. In some ways, almost there seems like there's more work. But I hope you all are doing well. Again, we're thrilled that you're here this morning. I want to recognize our sponsors first, right out of the chute. Our signature sponsor for Business at Breakfast is First National Bank. Our corporate partner is Liberty University. And I want to say congratulations to Liberty on, there's been some really fantastic press releases lately, but the response with the Virginia tag and setting up the LU tag as a response is really great scholarships for students in online. Our new member sponsor today and always is Member One Federal Credit Union. And new today, since we're doing gift cards, Kroger, who, raise your hand if you've been going to Kroger occasionally. Kroger it came in and they wanted to underwrite the gift cards and support the gift card initiative. So we're really appreciative to Kroger and their willingness to do that. So welcome to all of our sponsors today. This morning, the process is pretty simple, pretty basic. I'm gonna introduce the new members, and each of the new members that are online will take a minute, 30 seconds to a minute to introduce themselves and their business. And when that's finished, we'll go right into our speakers, and then we'll wrap it up at the end with Q&A. You'll be able to unmute and ask a question of our speakers, or you can put them in the chat box and I'll answer those. Just be sensitive. We are in the Zoom, so you got to watch out for who's asking which question when. With that, we'll get started. The Alliance has a very strong membership, and we couldn't be more thrilled to have all of you on and members supporting the Alliance and working hard together for the business community. But our new members this week, looks like I have 6 of them on the list, and we're going to start with Donna Ford. Donna, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Just wanted to quickly say hello, and very honored to be among the group this morning. Very glad to be here and hear the new updates from all our local leadership. I am a retired military veteran. I've lived in the area since about 2003. I did retire out of the Pentagon. That was my last assignment. Since then, I've now taken a new position. My second career is to work with New York Life. I'm a registered agent, providing help for families in the area with life insurance, long-term care insurance, financial planning, and other types of financial needs. So if you're looking for some help in those areas, please give me a call. I'll put my contact information in the chat. And obviously, I'm on the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance website. So very proud and honored to be with you all this morning, and God bless. Looking forward to hearing more about our new members and hearing more about what's going on with the COVID response and how we're hanging together. It's a great region with wonderful businesses that help each other. So God bless. I'm looking forward to hearing more. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Donna. We're glad you're here. And should we call you Donna, or should we just call you Colonel? Which do you prefer?
Just Donna for now, but thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, Robin Faust, Innovative Insurance Group. Robin? Okay, we'll come back to Robin. Chal Nunn, we know Chal is on. Chal Nunn, Executive Coaching and Consulting.
Hey, I know many of you, and I'm Dr. Chal Nunn and of Chal Nunn Executive Coaching.
Chal, we can't hear you.
That's it. How about now?
Yes.
Let's try. Yeah, all right. I'm Chal Nunn of Chal Nunn Executive Coaching. I did all my medical training at Duke and got a master's degree at Carnegie Mellon in management. but I was recruited to Lynchburg 20 years ago as a senior executive at Centra. Held a lot of leadership roles at Centra. I was actually the CEO of the GI group. When I retired in 2015, I did not retire, but I refired and developed a second career as a coach. I sort of fell into it. I have worked in the health sector primarily, but also in the private sector, working with leaders and executives, you know, in their leadership and team dynamics and governance, using tools such as 360 evaluations and at times very brutally honest feedback. You know, this work has sort of resonated with my core values of frugality, relationships, transparency, and possibility. You know, I love Lynchburg. I've been here 20 years now, and I'm committed to helping us maintain the high quality of life we have here and the community spirit we have here. And I feel like my work resonates with that because the workplace does not always resonate. There's a lot of friction at times. So I enjoy what I do. Thanks.
Welcome. We're glad you're here. Kyle Simpson, Central Virginia Land Conservancy. Kyle, are you on the line?
Yes, good morning. Thank you.
There you are.
Tickled to be here. Yes, I'm with the Central Virginia Land Conservancy. We're an area nonprofit. As of last year, we were merged with the Roanoke-based Blue Ridge Land Conservancy. Primarily, our work is done through the use of conservation easements, which is a permanent restriction you can place on whether it's a family-held farm, a timber-producing farm, or just a piece of property that's been in the family for generations and needs to stay the way it's always been. So we've been around since 2003, but we're growing our footprint in the area a lot, the surrounding counties. And again, thank you for having me this morning.
You're welcome. We're glad you're here. Prez Terrell with Barracks Financial Professional Services. Prez? All righty. And then Elise Rose, our newest jeweler in town with Grace Marie Jewelers.
Hi, my name is Elise, and this is my husband, Mike. He's actually the one that does all of the work. We are a family-run jewelry store. Mike grew up in Lynchburg. I came down to Liberty, and I was here for about 10 years. And my father passed away, and we inherited a jewelry store up in New York, south of Buffalo. So we went up there for about 7 years and decided we really wanted to come back down to Lynchburg because we missed Virginia, and New York's not very nice. So we're back now, and we're opening up a store. Currently, we can only do custom work because we're not set up for retail, and obviously with everything going on, it's a little hard right now. So we will be hopefully opening at the mid to end of July with the way everything's going right now.
Wonderful. And where will you be located?
Oh, we will be at 17860 Forest Road. It's right near.
It's in between Burn Boot Camp and on second thought consignment.
Well, wonderful. I'd like to thank Member One Federal Credit Union for being here and supporting us. Is anybody from Member One on? Oh, I see Jessica. Jessica, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everybody. I apologize in advance if you hear Blippi in the background. I've got a 2-year-old right behind me. I'm that Zoom caller who always has a family cameo going on. Thanks for being here this morning. Member One's always excited to be the new member sponsor. Just a quick plug about Member One. If you're a member or interested, if you go to our website, right at the top, it talks about coronavirus information. That gives you access to our retail center operations right now, as well as loan deferral options. We also have a disaster relief loan available. So be sure to go to our website, check out that information. It's all right there. And we're happy to be here. I see Terry and Ryan are on the call with us too. Hi, guys. Thanks, Megan.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Again, it's really wonderful to see you all this morning. Thanks for joining us on our Zoom, the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance. At the core of what we do, it's about growing and sustaining our region. And each of you impacts our ability to do that every day. You impact the region in such a positive way. So I'm super, super happy to see you this morning. With that, it's my pleasure today. There's a lot of talk about what COVID is doing to your business, to our business, to your neighbor's business, to everybody's business. There's also a lot of talk about what it's doing to our municipalities, our state government, our federal government. And so we thought it's a perfect time to have a discussion and to hear from two of the city's top leaders in what's going in and how they're responding to COVID, to the pandemic, and how it's impacting the budget, and what are their thoughts and their perspectives moving forward. So I couldn't be more pleased to introduce you all today to our mayor, Mayor Treney Tweedy, who has been, along with everybody, working diligently on the issues that impact our region, our community. And of course, with her is Bonnie Svrcek, the city administrator. And I'm going to use this point of privilege to say who'll be retiring soon. And we will miss her terribly, and definitely appreciate the leadership and the vision and the passion she has shown for this region for so many years. But with that said, I think we decided this morning that we're going to start with Bonnie. And Bonnie, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Megan. Hi, everybody. I really appreciate the privilege of speaking with you today. I'm going to focus on a couple of things. Megan summarized it pretty well, but I'll just go over it again. The things that I'm going to focus on are how has the city been managing operations to keep employees and residents safe, implications of the budget and budget process due to COVID-19, our recovery and reopening considerations and planning process, and a pretty big announcement from our Office of Economic Development and Tourism and the Economic Development Authority. So pay attention, no multitasking. So how has the city been managing operations and to keep employees and residents safe? So at the very end of March, early April, we made the decision to close all public facilities and move to a minimal staffing scenario with the majority of our office employees working from home. We will continue to telework, I think, probably through the end of June, and then start the slow recovery back to working at City Hall and Department of Social Services and the places where we have office workers. We have been promoting safety and stay at home, now safer at home, through billboards, digital signs, working with the Alliance and Downtown Lynchburg Association and helping to promote your businesses the best that we can and in the safest possible way. We also internally implemented a non-essential travel restrictions for all employees, and any employees who did travel outside of the area and had exposure had to quarantine for 14 days, and we continue that practice. We are practicing all the CDC guidelines the best that we can, but at the end of the day, public service makes it really difficult for a lot of the services that we provide to practice, staying at home. Things such as our fire and rescue folks, the frontline folks, police, adult and child protective services, parks and recreation, and libraries have particularly been impacted because of their direct services to the public. We are, as the mayor well knows and may speak to, we have been practicing social distancing at council meetings. And the mayor has been doing a weekly message that can be found on the city's website. And I really just want to put an absolute shameless plug in for the city's website, lynchburgva.gov. It is so rich and full of information based on city services, what we know about business services, the mayor's weekly messages posted there. So please, if you need information about how government is operating in these really challenging and ever-changing times, just go to our website. Okay, so gosh, first thing in the morning, this will be the first thing in the morning for me today and the last thing at night, talking about the budget and the budget process. We have a council work session that starts at 4 this afternoon, and then another regular council meeting that starts at 7:30. So it's a long day ahead. So our local economy was truly thriving up until March 15th. And then we were just dealt that sucker punch of a pandemic. And we were seeing our revenues, particularly consumer-driven revenues, growing at a pretty good pace for our city. So then we saw this incredible decline, obviously. And the first thing we had to do was to look at the current fiscal year budget and see what these last 3.5 months would do to our revenue, and therefore and how it would impact our service delivery. So current fiscal year, as we looked at our budget for the second half of March, April, May, and June, we are projecting a $4.9 million shortfall in revenue. And so we made some pretty significant cuts. And I will say, and as any of you know how difficult this is, I had to furlough 47 part-time employees. The majority of those employees came out of Parks and Recreation and the library, with a smattering elsewhere. I am certainly hopeful that as we begin the fiscal year, in the 2021 budget, that we will slowly be able to bring those employees back to deliver services at our neighborhood centers, do better maintenance of our trails and parks, and slowly reopen the library. One of the coolest things that we've done, I think, is because we're all changing the way we deliver services, right? So we the end of last week, the library started to deliver books that were on hold for the past 4 or 5 weeks to residences. They called people who had books on hold. I think we had about 215 separate holds in the city that we are continuing to deliver this week. When we reopen, we will probably start with a curbside reopening and having people stop by you can certainly turn your books back in anytime. We quarantine the books for 3 days, and then we reshelve them. So that's just a small way that we have had to change the way we do business. We also froze all training, mileage, office supplies. We saved the savings in fuel has been pretty significant for us, so we were able to have some savings there. We reduced the school's operating budget by $1.5 million. We used managed vacancies, so positions that we have authorized but unfilled. That was another $1.5 million. So we had some pretty big tickets in there that we were able to depend on for the short term. We are consistently monitoring revenue as it comes in, and we will be reporting to council at the end of every month at their second meeting of the month what revenues are looking like. Because right now, frankly, it is like throwing Jell-O at a wall and seeing what sticks. So then we had to look at our crystal ball, which has not been very clear, quite honestly, to see what we needed to do to the fiscal year 2021 budget that I had presented to council the first week of March under much better circumstances. We have done our best to look at revenues and see what the impact of COVID-19 will have on our next fiscal year, which starts July 1st. And we are projecting a $6.4 million shortfall. And I mean, that really, we've tried to be as scientific as we can possibly be about it. But as you all well know, projecting future revenues and consumer behavior is a challenge at best. So we looked at a couple other things in that budget. The first thing that we cut in our fiscal year 21 budget, much to my dislike, quite frankly, is a 3% salary increase for all employees, as well as an implementation of a multi-year market study. We 2 years ago, contracted with Korn Ferry International, and they did a very robust and intensive review of all of our positions and salaries. We have not done a market study like that for personnel in well over 20 years. So I thought it was time. They came back with recommendations. The price tag was pretty big. So we were going to phase in implementation, and we have taken the second year or the second phase implementation out of the budget. Together, that 3% cut, the second year implementation or second phase of the implementation plan was about $3 million. So almost half of what we were looking for. We reduced the school's budget by another $700,000. Which is also challenging because we don't know what education is going to look like when we come back. Is it going to be just back to all brick and mortar? Is there going to be a hybrid approach? And that's something that I know the educators are really struggling with. But we have reduced, I propose reducing their budget a little more, and council will struggle through that. We're fortunate that we had a couple of reserves. We did have the reserve for the task force on the future of education. Those funds have been reduced due to the revenue reductions, and we use some end of fiscal year 20 fund balance to balance the 2021 budget. Now, the third thing, budget related, is prior to the pandemic, council was in the midst of reviewing my proposed 21 budget, and we're beginning their deliberations on basically what's in, what's out. And they are going to continue those deliberations this evening. And the two biggest issues really remain where council wants to go with schools funding and funding for 6 or 9 new firefighters to operate a medic unit. So some challenges lie ahead for council, some pretty big decisions. 2 weeks ago, under normal circumstances, we would have had the budget balanced. Council would be considering adoption of the budget tonight, but they will be shifting that to their meetings in June. So hopefully I will be able to tie a bow on that budget before I refire. Chal, I loved that statement, not retiring, refiring. I call it turning the page to the next chapter. So enough on the budget. Recovery and reopening considerations and planning process. So we all know phase 1 from the governor begins this Friday. The city will take a slow and cautious reopening approach following guidance from the governor. We will be cautious, particularly with guidance as well from our public health director, Dr. Gately, who I just really want to give a shout out to. He has been absolutely amazing, answering a multitude of phone calls, not only from the city, but I know from a lot of our businesses, and getting guidance on, what do we do with this employee, or what's the safest way for us to reopen? He has been fabulous. One of the things that he said at our very first press conference, and I think the mayor will remember this, we had a press conference in council chambers, probably the very first week after the announcement was made that schools would close. And Andy Mueller and Dr. Gately and the mayor were all present and made remarks. And one of the things that Dr. Gately said was, and I really, if there's a takeaway from this, I really want this to be part of it. And it is that this virus loves a crowd. So we need to be very cautious about being in places where there is a crowd. So social distancing, I think, is going to be with us for quite some time. And as you have heard, this is not like flipping a switch and all is well in our world. All will be well in our world eventually. It's just not going to happen all at once. Megan mentioned the business task force. Internally, we have a long-term recovery task force made up of our Director of Finance, Commissioner of Revenue, Margette, Economic Development, and Kent White, our Director of Community Development. And they are working together to provide as much support for our business community as we can as we reopen. And along those lines, drum roll, the big announcement is that the city's Economic Development Authority on April 30th voted to allocate a portion of its revolving loan fund to create a business recovery loan program for you. It exists to aid Lynchburg businesses in our COVID-19 recovery efforts. And here are just some quick bullet points. In terms of eligibility, the business has not been approved or received an economic injury disaster loan, an economic impact disaster loan advance, or paycheck protection program funding. You must be located in the city of Lynchburg corporate limits. You must be independently owned and have 25 or fewer employees. Your business must have been in operation in calendar year 2018. Expenses, the funds can be used for expenses such as payroll, rent, utilities, and accounts payable. Loan amounts will be between $5,000 and $25,000. Loans are not forgivable. Application and origination fees have been waived. The city Department of Office of Economic Development and Tourism will begin to accept applications this Thursday with supporting documentation. Approved applicants will be provided wraparound services by the Small Business Development Center. Thank you, Stephanie Keener, for a business plan checkup and advice from the Department of Health on health and safety for reopening. You must be current on all city taxes through February 29th, 2020, and applications can be submitted online at opportunitylynchburg.com. Following this business at breakfast, a press release will go out announcing the program, and again, the website is opportunitylynchburg.com. So I'm really proud of our Office of Economic Development, particularly the Economic Development Authority, for taking action and providing another tool to help small businesses in our community come back and thrive. So with that, I am going to pitch it to the mayor for remarks, and then I think we open it for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Bonnie, and good morning, everyone. Hello, Megan, and everyone who's on our meeting today. I am just excited to be here with you. I often think back, I've been in public service now for a few years, and as Bonnie was talking, I said, wow, I've been through the derecho when I was on the school board, I think. I've been through the city tornado, county tornado that came through. I've been through a potential dam break that we had to work through, and now a pandemic. So I don't know what that says about me, but I'm just thrilled to be in a time of leadership where I think one of my roles and our council members' roles is to keep people calm, to try to be just a voice that gives everyone the assurance that we have a strong administrative team, strong crisis management team, that checks off not just the boxes, but they really care about people and they care about organizations in our city. And so the work they do supports our role to serve citizens, to serve businesses and organizations. And so through this pandemic, we've tried to give everyone information, facts. We've tried to make information accessible. While we don't create a lot of the national emergency, local state emergency policies that come forth, we want to make sure that people understand we're going to adhere to them. First thing we want to come out on the other side of this pandemic is everyone safe, healthy, and whole. And so that means that we have to create the confidence in people of being a resilient city. We want to continue our great quality of life. And I'm just grateful that during this time, we had organizations who were ready to step up, step in, and do their jobs, do their role. Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance started with the weekly Wednesday meetings, pulling local leadership together. There were many folks who said, Treney, the mayor should, pull a team together, pull a table of folks. And I never wanted to do that because I knew we had the systems that could kick in and they knew what to do. And so when you've already developed those relationships and people have the camaraderie of knowing who to trust for information, who's the go-to, and already has that information list going, then we want to continue that and support it as we can. So we supported the Regional Alliance there. Our economic development team, as Bonnie pointed out, we're already having the relationships with all of our businesses throughout the community, other economic development directors. So as information comes in, as they are able to sift through it, because we know information was changing by the day and by the week, they are able to relay that to their folks. And so I'm just glad that as a community, we already had the collaboration, we already had the connectivity. And so if nothing else, this pandemic has shown us that in our world, we are all interconnected, whether it's businesses, whether it's workforce, whether it's how we deliver services, who is responsible, who is on the receiving end. We need each other. And so we want to make sure that people know that even through this, we are continuing to do the work of searching. As Bonnie said, we are saddened that Bonnie's retiring. We know she's going to do great things, but we are continuing the search for a city manager. Council is in receipt of applications and continuing to receive applications. We're working with a recruiter and doing the process there of how to select the next city manager. So it's important. No one wanted to recruit during a pandemic. So we need someone who can come into a community and build on the legacy that Bonnie's leaving, the work that we're doing, and also know how do we come out on the other side? Where is the innovation? Where are the resources going to be? And how do we support businesses as they move forward in this new era? We also want to create the consumer confidence of going back into businesses and supporting all of our small businesses, restaurants, the employee workforce. So working with the health department and everyone is vitally important so that we're adhering to the guidelines, but again, keeping safety first. And also, we just want the community to know that we are going to be better on the other side of this. Education is important, and the public safety piece is important. One thing that disappoints me a little bit as mayor during this time is that we are in a campaign election cycle. And so that means that sometimes to some people, operations and services become political. And one thing that even now, especially during this time, things like public safety, how we deliver services of refuse, trash, public works, that's not political. I never called 911. I had a sick father. I never called 911 and they said, are you independent, Democrat, or Republican? They just asked, what's your emergency? And so as a council, we all support all of the functions of our city. We know we're going to have to make some hard decisions. We're going to have to make some cuts, as Bonnie pointed out, and we still have some to make in the sense of what council's decisions will be. But we're always understanding that public safety, education, quality of life matters in a city. Bonnie mentioned our centers. Some people don't want to keep our centers open. I have constituents who email me and say, but that's after school daycare while I'm working for a couple of hours in the after school program. So things will change as we decide how and when to cut services and find efficiencies. But we have to keep in mind that we are still serving people. that we are still a city made up of people. During this time when I ride around between meetings and going downtown, to see our streets without citizens, to see there be no life on the blocks and at the restaurants, it saddens me, because a city is made up not just of services and operations, but of the citizens. And so we have to get back to that quality of life in time and as safely as possible. But we want to make sure that everyone knows we support the operations and services that we have to deliver, that everyone expects. We're not going to compromise on that. And so we are going to do the hard deliberating that we need to do to get to the point of having an approved budget and also coming through the pandemic. So I really don't have any other things to say. I'd love to hear questions, or if anyone has questions for us, but I thank you for the time. Please be confident that we're working hard for you. We're going to work together. We're going to come out on the other end of this, hopefully better than before. And one thing I've been telling people is that anything that was upside down in the world, I call it upside right now, because we have to be very intentional and deliberate on how we care about each other and how we deliver what's expected in our community. So thank you very much for allowing me to say a few words with you this morning.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mayor and Bonnie. And Mayor, I want to congratulate you. You just accomplished a great milestone, which is getting your master's degree. So congratulations. That is it's a great feeling, and it's a lot of work too. So congratulations. And tell us, what did you receive your master's in?
MBA, Master's Business Administration from University of Lynchburg. So I tell everyone it was difficult, but being mayor and working and doing that, I just put my nose to it, and now I'm happy. I was thrilled. So
that is fantastic. Okay, everyone. So at this time, we'll open it up for questions. And Brandon, are you clapping or raising your hand?
I was clapping.
That's operator error. I can't tell. I'll have to start with the first question. And really it's either Mayor or Bonnie can answer, but do you anticipate, Mayor, that Bonnie extending her time a little bit, or is she, Bonnie, are you on track? Are you holding firm to your date, or taking into consideration the pandemic, is there some flexibility there for the future?
Well, so I have shared with the mayor and vice mayor that should they need me to stay past June 30th, I certainly can do that. Keith and I are going to remain members of this community, and public service is my jam, and if the city needs me, I'm here.
Yeah, and she did make that known to us, so I was like, whew, I could kind of wipe my brow. But we are, taking in applications, looking, but we want to make sure as a whole council that we're making the best decision and best choice for the city. And how that next person comes in to build relationships, to work in our networks is very important to us. So we're doing the due diligence. We hopefully will have a candidate, but thank you to Bonnie for offering that to us, because we just don't know. We're going through the process, and hopefully we will have a selection, but we're going to be very intentional on selecting the best person.
Okay, wonderful. And by the way, Bonnie and Mayor, what a great announcement from the Office of Economic Development and Tourism. The Business Recovery Loan Program, I'm sure it's going to be well received by the businesses that need it and have access to it. And I imagine it will probably go pretty quickly. But that's a great announcement and a great response to supporting Lynchburg's businesses.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions, the floor is open.
Megan, we have one in the chat, and the question is from our friend Mike Lewis. Has the current lack of traffic helped to speed the progress of the Main Street project?
So I don't know if the lack of traffic has helped speed the Main Street project, but I can tell you that the project is several months ahead of schedule, and will reopen sooner than projected.
Fantastic. Other questions? Oh, you all have, this is a very smart group. You all have questions.
This is Keenan Bell. I have a quick question. What's the best way for small businesses who haven't applied for the federal aid to go about doing that for the funds that are allocated that way?
Keenan, are you asking for businesses that have or haven't?
I guess I was just trying to see what's the best way for small businesses to apply for the loans.
For the city's loan?
Correct.
That was just announced? Yep.
Yeah, just go to opportunitylynchburg.com and all of the details are going to be there. And they will start accepting applications on Thursday.
So the announcement is today, as I understand it, and the applications will go live on the website on Thursday. Is that correct?
Correct.
Good question. Any other questions? You have our mayor and our city administrator on the line, available to answer any question you might have. When we're talking about the governor's potentially phase one reopening, and there's a lot of talk about PPE. Are you, Bonnie and Mayor, aware of what are you all doing about PPE for your employees, but any ideas or connections for folks who need PPE where they can find it?
Yeah, so that's one of the really challenging things. And as I spoke with the business task force 2 weeks ago, I was on a phone call with the Deputy Secretary for Commerce, and she had asked if the state had PPE to get to localities. Did we have a distribution system? I told her absolutely, the city working with the Alliance could figure out a distribution system for businesses. She has not been able to tell us whether there was capacity to get that to us. So that is still a work in progress. The other thing that I would tell you is that the city has received a couple of buckets of money from the federal government. So the schools learned that they will be getting about $2.5 million in COVID-19 money. We got an additional $400,000 in community development block grant money. The airport got $6 million, $6 or $7 million, and GLTC got about $6 million. The police department got $112,000 to share with the sheriff's office. Most of those come with some strings, with the funds having to be used for something that is COVID-19 related. But the piece that I wanted to focus on, sort of related to PPE, is the community development block grant money. Applications for that funding were due last Monday, I believe. No, they were due yesterday. And one of the applications I know is requesting funding to put together PPE kits. This is an idea that we got from Harrisonburg, and the kits will include gloves and masks. And we are, I believe the application asks that those kits focus on a delivery system to school children. And I think we can think about business as well. So stay tuned on that. We all know there's not enough PPE to get to everybody, so we need to be creative.
Thank you, Bonnie. And we do have a couple of members at the Alliance who can provide or a source for PPE. And if you just let us know, I don't have that information at my fingertips, but I can let you know that. I can share that with everybody.
I have a question. I know we sometimes look at meals tax revenue to the city as a bit of a barometer of at least that sector of the economy. I wonder if there's been enough months collected since we've been in this situation that you can kind of give us a relative picture. I know there's been curbside and takeout, but I just wonder how that compares to, say, February or a January, or maybe this month last year. How bad is it, or has it been?
So, David, thanks for that question. One of the very first things that we did as things were going downhill pretty fast in terms of restaurants was to defer restaurants' March payment to coincide with their April payment, which is due May 20th. Yes. So we do not have information on that yet. We are anecdotally hearing that certainly drive-throughs, fast food drive-throughs are doing pretty well. Curbside is doing the best they can, but I think we projected like 75 or 80% decline in meals tax for this last quarter of our fiscal year. So we'll know more about that probably May 22nd-ish, and that will be in our report to City Council at their May 26th council meeting. So we have a lot of taxes that are due right now. Business license taxes are due, real estate taxes are due. So we are waiting to see what those look like, and we'll be monitoring them very closely.
Was there a similar deferral of payments for the bed taxes in the hotels?
Yes. So meals tax, lodging tax, and amusement tax were all deferred.
I have a question, Bonnie, Treney.
Yeah.
The sound.
Go ahead. We've lost your sound.
How about now? Did we stay? For some reason I keep losing. I feel like I use the metaphor we're building the bridge to a new future. There's something different on the other side of that river. And I see a lot of things happening, from the use of Zoom to the way we communicate with each other, the way we educate, the use of buildings, how much space will we need, potential tax revenues may change, sources like that. Have you started giving any thought to what the other side may look like? Or are you just still mired in handling the crisis right now? And even schools, a whole different way to educate. Those are large questions. I didn't know if you have a process in place where you're looking at that.
So we do have a internal long-term recovery task force that's made up of our financial folks, Commissioner of Revenue, Economic Development, Community Development, and they are looking at, the best they can. I mean, it really is, very crystal ball, right? It's like, oh, what are we going to do different? Are we going to have more employees teleworking? Are we going to continue to have more Zoom-ish meetings? Are we going to change how we receive payment of taxes? Yes, we are looking at a number of things. Mayor, if you want to speak at all to, sorry, I'm putting you totally on the spot, to the education piece. I know you have some really strong thoughts about that.
Chow, I have tried to live in this world of thought for a few years now. Bonnie will tell you, I kind of push the envelope sometimes behind the scenes. And they're like, no, why? Why are you thinking like that? Because I believe that this new world that we're seeing ourselves in, it's an opportunity in a sense. She did mention the education committee. That's why we formed an education committee prior to all of this, to look at public school delivery of education, how we utilize our buildings, our enrollment numbers, and just how do we deliver services with technology now. But I thought that early on, we needed to have that committee of citizens, businesses, organizations, people to look at that, to just help the schools to navigate through, because the delivery of education hadn't changed in hundreds of years. So it is the idea of looking on the other side is not new. I think we are going to this place of teleworking. Personally, I enjoy it. I was running around town a whole lot, but I do enjoy it. And just being deliberate on how we deliver the services to the people who, one, most need it and need it in different forms. How do we reallocate our dollars? You mentioned the buildings. I was reading a story online where one company has in 5 states said all of their people will telework now. And so those are huge building office spaces that will sit vacant or either try to find new purpose with businesses. And so on the other side of it, I just hope people are thinking about their education and careers from the sense of who is able to telework and who's not. And is this an opportunity to advance career skills, skill development, new avenues for technology, and how we function? You know, what are the functions that will now change? But all of that is on our agenda. It's on my agenda and has been for a while.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. I want to, we're getting to close out time, and I want to be respectful of your time and your schedules today. So really join me. I don't think you clap on Zoom, but you could jazz hands or thumbs up, but join me in thanking Mayor Tweedy and Bonnie Svrcek for being with us this morning. We certainly appreciate your leadership in non-pandemic times as well as pandemic times. And we appreciate the time and energy and commitment that you have to the citizens and the businesses of Lynchburg. In closing, I have a few things I need to wrap up. On the call this morning, on the Zoom, there are 3 people who called in using their phones, and we can't identify you. So if you're on your phone and your name doesn't appear on this, we can't send you a gift card. So email Heath Baird or the office and let us know that you were on the call and what phone number you were using so we can get you the appropriate gift card. Mayor mentioned the launching of Wednesdays at 1, which we started immediately when the pandemic started for us. Tomorrow's Wednesday at 1 will be facilitated by none other our new member, Cham Nunn. And the topic is From the Front Lines, an interview with a local ICU doctor or nurse on their experience, safety, progress, and how the pandemic will play out in Lynchburg. Wednesdays at 1. You can register for that on our website. I can't say W enough right now. Visit our website for Wednesdays at 1 to register, and you'll get all the information you need to be a part of that. Additionally, I want to let you know that on May 14th, we're doing a virtual happy hour, and that will be a lot of fun. Iron and Ale will be doing some beverage demonstrations for us, and so please, there's no charge for that. So that's just good old-fashioned virtual networking. May 15th, we're real fortunate. I mentioned John Putney earlier, our Director of Government Relations. John Putney was able to secure Senator Werner. Senator Werner will be doing a business roundtable at 1:30 this Friday, May 15th. You'll need to register for that. That is open to the members of the Alliance only. So please be sure and register for that and all of these things at our website. And then additionally, I want to let you know that there is a coming up, there is a Lessons with Leaders, which I'm not saying, oh, here it is. Lessons with Leaders will be May 21st at 10 a.m. And that Dr. Nancy Hubbard, Dean of School of Business for University of Lynchburg. She'll be talking about strategies, decision-making, and leading during a crisis. And then also on May 21st, Jen Worth is presenting, and our own Christine will be facilitating a diversity, equity, and inclusion roundtable at 1 o'clock. All of this information is available on our website. Please go there, visit the COVID recovery page, look at the opportunities for you to stay engaged in the region and for the business community. In closing, when the e-blast goes out today, one of the things that, of the many things we've been doing during, for COVID and recovery is surveying the business community and the community as a whole. This week, we launched a consumer survey for the entire region. So if you see the consumer survey, please take that survey and respond. There's also a business-specific survey. Please take that and respond. This week, we are doing those surveys in addition to a series of sector-driven focus groups to help us gather the information we need to put together a detailed plan for everyone to use for recovery, sort of a blueprint to recovery guide for the businesses in the region. With that said, once again, thank you so much for being on the Zoom today. Thank you to all of our sponsors that are here today, First National, Liberty University, Member One Federal Credit Union, Kroger. We appreciate them and all of you. Again, if you need anything at all, the Alliance is here for all of you every day. Just give us a buzz. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good, thanks.